Hello there, you're welcome to my channel, and in this tutorial we're going to talk about three things: variables, if statement, else, and then else if. So without wasting time, let's just get to it. Okay, so I'll create a new script and then I'll name it as variables. Okay, so what's a variable? A variable is just a placeholder for a value. So in class we used to say x is equal to 5. So we all know that the moment you use x, we are referring to that 5, not x as in x. First of all, I would like to talk about strings, and strings are just something like hello and any letters or alphabets and letters mixed together. So let me quickly go to it. I'll call it string. That's the name of the variable, and I'm going to assign it hello 123 at gmail.com. So this is how we declare a string in Matlab. So we use a single quote. We can also have complex numbers, so call it complex 2 plus 3i. If you have heard of them before, we have complex numbers. Matlab supports complex numbers. We can also have integers, like integer as my name of the variable. We'll assign it 6. And then we can also have a double numbers that contain decimal points, so we call them double, and then we'll assign it 2.33. so these are simple values that Matlab supports, and this is how to declare any variable. So we have our string here, our complex number, the integer, and the double. So these are the basic type of variables that Matlab supports. Let's quickly take a look at some operations on the variables. So we can use the variables, and then we know that whenever we refer to the name of the variable, we are actually referring to the value. So the first thing we are going to do, let's just print them out, and then the second time we'll just try to do simple addition, multiplication, and then division with our variables. Alright, so we use the disp function to print out anything. So I can call string, I say display integer, display double, and display complex. Okay, so we have just displayed them. Let's run the code to see what we get. So when we run it, looking into our command window, we have the string and our integer, the double, and then the complex number. So this is how to quickly take a look at variables, and this is how to declare variables in Matlab. Okay, so you first give it a name, which is a string, and then the value. So if it's a string, use a single quote. Let's take a look at some of the basic arithmetic we can do with the variables. So I'm going to do simple multiplication. Let's store it in x. So say x is equal to double, and we use the star for times in Matlab, double star complex. Okay, and please, when you're writing a script, don't forget your, after assignment, don't forget your semicolon. We can say y is equal to integer power 5. This is how to also call power in Matlab. We use a caret. We can have z is equal to let's do a division. So integer by 3. So we are dividing the integer, which is 6, by 3. Then let's quickly also print out these values. Okay, so these are the values we have. Oh, sorry, we didn't print them out yet. Let's display them first. So display x, display y, and display z, and let's run them. Okay, so you can see in our command window we have the division, which is integer divided by 3, which is the 2, and the power, the multiplication of a number and a complex number. So this is how to quickly look at variables inside Matlab. Without wasting time, let's look at if, else, and then else if. So I'm going to create a new file. So what is if and else? In programming, we use the if and the else when we want to branch. So for example, we want to do something specific when a particular condition is met. So because of this, we use the if and else. So to be able to do this, I'm going to write a program which just finds the division for two numbers. So you're going to ask the user for their input, and then we print out the division, the result of the division for them. Okay, so I'm going to name my first variable as x, and we are going to assign it to a function. I'll explain this. What we are just doing is we are calling the input function, and this input function is going to stop and wait for the user to enter some value, and once that value is entered, it is going to store that in x. So we are going to ask the user, and then this is the prompt. So this is what the user will see to enter the first number. We can also have y. We also call the same input function. We say please enter the second number, since we are going to divide two numbers. But before the division, just come to think of it, we all know that when the denominator of any division is 0, it's undefined. So because of this, we don't want the user to see any kind of message which is not appealing to the user. So because of that, we'll use the conditions to check for a situation when the denominator is equal to 0, and then display something nice for the user. So let's see how we do that. So this is how to declare an if condition. So we say if, and then the condition follows. So if what? So if y, which is going to be our denominator or the second value, is exactly equal to 0. So this condition is going to check when the second input from the user is exactly equal to 0. Then what should we do? We are just going to display something nice to the user. I said, sorry, you cannot divide by 0. Okay, so this is something nice, and please remember, the moment you use an if, we end it. So you have to say end. So this will end the if, but that's not it. We also want to work out the solution for the person if all the values are correct. So because of this, we use the else. Since there are only two, we are going to check if it's exactly equal to 0, and if not 0, then what do? We just work out the solution. So we can say answer, which is also a variable, is equal to x over y. If you remember, we use the / for division, and then what do? We just print out the answer for the user. So answer. Okay, so this is just a simple program. Let's quickly run it and see the results we get. So it is asking us to enter the first number, and right here I'm going to enter 2, and the second number I'm intentionally going to enter 0, and then see what happens. So you see we are getting that kind of error saying sorry, you cannot divide by what? 0. Okay, so that's what exactly happened. It's checked for the condition when the second or the denominator you entered is equal to 0, and then it's going to do whatever is available here. So let me clear command window and then rerun it. So this time around I'm going to use normal numbers, something like 4 and 2. So we know the answer is going to be what? 2, which is right here. Okay, so that's with the if and else. Let's quickly also take a look at else if. So I'm going to create a new file. So what's an else if? So to be able to explain this, I'm going to build a program which solves for the quadratic equation, or which works out for the quadratic equation. We are going to first ask for the coefficient of x squared, x, and then the constant. Say a is equal to input, then you say please enter the coefficient of x power 2, and then b is equal to input, please enter the coefficient of x, and c is equal to input, please enter the constant. Okay, so now we have the coefficients of the quadratic equation. What do you do? So we are just going to check for the situation when the a is equal to 0, or the coefficient of x squared is equal to 0, which is not a quadratic. So we just display to them that it's not quadratic. So we say if a is exactly equal to 0, I think we have seen this before, then what do? We just display, sorry, this is not a quadratic equation. So we just display that, and then now we have another condition, so we cannot just use the else. Okay, so because of this we introduce the else if, and this is how we say else if what? So it's an alternative if it's an alternative if a is not equal. If this situation doesn't occur, then you should check whether this situation is also going to occur. Okay, so what we are going to say, if b power 2 minus 4 times a times c, or b squared minus 4ac is less than 0, put this in bracket. So if b squared minus 4ac is less than 0, then what do? We can work for it, but we just want to display to the user the solution is going to be complex. The solution to this equation is complex. So we'll not work for that one. And now what if none of these occur? So this way we use the else, and then so if this situation doesn't occur, this also doesn't occur, then we are automatically going to work out the solution for them. So we declare a variable x1 is equal to, then we know the formula for the quadratic equation is minus b plus square root. So this is how we say square root in Matlab, sqrt, square root of, so I'm just going to copy this, b squared minus 4ac, so b squared minus 4ac all over 2 times a. So this is how we declare the first one, because we have a plus or minus. So because of this, we say minus b plus, and then the second one we use the minus to work out for the two solutions. So minus b plus, so this one will cater for the first one, or the first value, and this will cater for the second value. So let's print out the solution. We say this x1 and this x2. And then remember that you always have to end your if, so we end it right there, and we don't have any errors. Okay, so let's try out the program and see how it works. So we run the program, and the moment you run it, it will be asking for the coefficient. So let's enter 1, 1, 2, 2. So the solution to this equation is what? Complex. This is because when you find b squared, which is 2, minus 4 times a times c, which is square root of 2 minus 8, so that will result in a negative. Okay, so the solution is going to be complex. Let's take another one, like 1, 4 and negative 4. Okay, so it's supposed to be disp. Okay, so let's redo that again. Let's run the function. We have 1, 4 and negative 4. So we have these two values as our answers, so it really works. And then let's intentionally set the value of the x squared towards 0, and that will lead us to telling us that it's no more a quadratic equation. So we are getting, sorry, this is not a quadratic equation. Okay, so that is the basis of variables, if and then else if. So if you like the video, comment, like, and then subscribe. I'll see you some other time.